That's where I ran into problems. It didn't match with what she had on her chart.
It should be, it's one of those where you move forward and move back.
It's where you check your results on the table.
Right, so you use the table to go one direction. And then given the answer, you use the table again to move back and make sure that you move back to essentially the same spot. That's the idea. We can get there. All right, so a couple of review questions to start us off with, though. All right. So let's suppose that you have a business and that your business starts doing really well, and you decide, okay, I need to start hiding my money because I know that the tax man's coming, right? So it's one of the things that once you guys start a business and you discover that you can't hide your money well enough and so you wind up having to pay taxes. This is what every business starts to do, is they start to look for tax dodges, right? Where can I hide my money so that the tax man won't hit me, all right? So let's imagine, if you will, that this company finds a spot where it can invest $15,000 a month into an account that's going to pay them a certain amount of interest, 12% compounded monthly, and it's all going to be tax-free. So this is why they're dumping all their money in here as much as they can, right? So any kind of profit that they get whatsoever, instead of paying yourself, in fact, that's what a lot of small businesses will do, is they'll forego paying the actual owner a salary because they know the owner has to pay income tax on it. And income tax, folks, is one of the most highest tax pieces of money that's out there. Business taxes are much less than personal income taxes, so it's almost always better to take a hit there. But if you can hide both of them, it's like double bonus, right? So imagine, if you will, that we have this possibility, right? So the company invests for $15,000 each month for 4 years. How much interest will they earn over those 4 years? So, first off, what am I going to use to solve this problem? Am I investing to save a specific amount in the future? No. Sinking funds are when you're trying to save to buy something where you know what the cost is going to be in the future. Basically, it's one of those walk backwards problems. Am I trying to walk backwards here?
No.
No.
Forward.
So I'm going forward, okay? So how am I going forward? What am I going to use to calculate this? We're going to use the 13-1 column, or the third column in the tables. Now, remember that there are two special ways that we use the 13-1 column. What are the two special ways, first off? When you're investing at the beginning and you're investing at the end, right? Which one is this one doing?
Could be either. It doesn't say.
It doesn't say. If it doesn't say, you assume it's the end because then it's normal, okay? So this one is not an annuity due. This is just a normal annuity, okay? If it doesn't say that you're investing at the beginning, you assume it's investing at the end, okay? And this one we can just use the tables, and we're all good to go, all right? So, what page are we going to go to? Why 1%?
Because it's monthly, money we do 12 divided by 12.
All right, good. We're going to be on the 1% page. What row are we going to go to? 48. Why?
Because 4 years times 12 periods.
4 years, 12 months per year, 48 periods. Awesome. So, what's our table entry? For 1%, 48. Yes?
You know, if the ladies in front desk have chapter 13, they gave us a chapter 12 handout.
No, I did not make printouts of this chapter 13 stuff, sorry.
Oops.
So you're good. Nobody over here has one either, so bear with me to some degree. I thought I had them all printed and sent, but then when I looked, it was all chapter 12, and then it was too late. So, sorry. So anyways, we're just going to run through each one of these. All right, so what table value did we want to get?
12.1. Oh, 13.1.
61.2226.
Oh, yeah.
61.2226. What do I do with that 61.2226? Multiply by the 15,000. What do I get? Straight up. Okay. Is that my answer? Why is it not the answer?
I don't know how much interest.
I want to know what interest is. What does this number represent? Yeah, this is everything. The interest and the principal. So how are you going to get the principal out of there to get just the interest?
48.
All right, again, good. So we didn't just invest $15,000. We invested $15,000 48 times. How much money did we put in there?
A lot.
720,000 bucks. We hit it all. Yay. And so now that's how much we put in. Subtract that out. Interest. Just a shade under $200,000 worth of interest. And if you were a clever business, all of that interest would be strictly tax-free. It's both good and bad, right, folks? Right? It's good because it would sure be nice if that was your business, right? Why is it bad for the rest of us? I mean, who's missing out, folks? If all of this money is tax-free, who's missing out? Uncle Sam. And therefore, since we're all contributing, they got to raise our taxes to make up for that, right? Tends to be the way it works, right?
Couple pennies.
Yeah. This is 4 years worth, right, folks? Think about doing this for 40, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, don't even think about it. Let's just take a second. All right, so again, this is the sort of stuff that businesses can get away with. You and I, how many of us got an extra $15,000 every month? Yeah. Maybe a year. Okay, anyways, all right, so. Okay, here's another one. So my company needs a new crane. All right, so I'm running a construction business. I'm buying a medium-sized crane. So I've got a small one right now. The small ones only cost like $1.2 million. The medium-sized ones, you jump up to just about $2 million. If you get the really big ones that you have to use a crane to build the crane, those are the ones that are in the $5 and $10 million range, right? I did a month of book work for Cullen and Associates, and they've got a dozen of these things floating around all over the place, and they're paying for them constantly, right? This is the way businesses work, right? If they're constantly saying, okay, yeah, just because I bought a new one does not mean that I'm not buying the next new one, right? As soon as they bought one, they're immediately saying, okay, how much is the next one's going to cost? It's $1.75 million. Start putting money in towards it, right? And while they're putting in that money, what are they doing on that money? Earning interest, right? So that when they have to buy it, they don't have to borrow and pay interest. You get a good construction firm that's got serious profits. This is the sort of stuff they do. All right, so first off, what kind of a problem is this? Backwards. We're trying to get to a value in the future. We know it's going to cost us $1.75 million in 8 years. This is a sinking fund. This is 13-3. What page are we going to go to? 3%. Why 3%? Semi-annual, that's twice a year. Divide your 6% by 2. We are on the 3% page. What row are we going to? 16. How many times are we going to invest? 8 years, twice a year, 16 periods. We've got the meat, we've got the potatoes. What table are we on? What's our table value? 13-3, 3%, 16. 0496 multiplied by 1.75 million. How do I write 1.75 million so I can punch it in my calculator? 1,750,000. Okay? So again, remember, that's how it works. Wherever the decimal point is, that becomes your comma. The first number to the left of it, the numbers to the left of it are in the million spot. Everything to the right of the decimal are going to be after the millions comma. So how much does this construction firm need to put away every 6 months so that they can buy their crane in cash? 80,500 straight up.
I got 86,800.
86,800. Okay. Missed the 5. Missed the 5 and the 1.75 million. So just a shade under $90,000 every 6 months, right? Now, I can ask this question on any problem that I put on the test, folks, right? I mean, this is a legitimate question to figure out how much they need to invest. But the other side of the coin of all of these problems is interest. Where is the interest in this kind of a problem? Think about what you're doing, right? What does the 86,800 mean? What are you doing with that number? That's what you're putting away every 6 months, right? So how much money are you going to put in?
We do 86,800 times 16.
What's 86,800 times 16?
1,380,000.
Do we have a grant? Yeah. Okay. That's how much I put in. How much am I taking out? 1.75. What's the difference? The interest, right? So when this construction firm goes to buy its crane 8 years from now, they'll have invested a shade over 1.38 million, and they'll have a nice little chunk of change in interest to use to pay for the crane. And again, folks, anytime a business invests inside of itself, all of the money it spends on that business component is guaranteed to be tax-free. Right? Anytime you invest in your business, you write it off. That's the way it works. Right? This is why when you run a home business, you keep track of everything that you spend on your home, right? Because then everything that's keeping that up to date is also something that's keeping up to date your business. And therefore you write it off, right? Businesses play the same game, folks. All right, they just play it on a much bigger scale. Right? And this is also why businesses will invest in sinking funds and why sinking funds exist. Because all of this interest, folks, is always tax-free if they use it on actual materials for their business. Sort of how we stimulate growth, sort of, kind of. All right? Rich, stay rich. All right. So this is actually a little story that my wife and I told each other while I was working at Epic. One of the things that we wanted to do was to basically quit for 2 years and go live in a foreign country. So what we were trying to do is to figure out how much would it cost? How much money would we need while we were there? Okay? Again, don't think about the fact that we wouldn't work for 2 years and all of that income would be lost. So whatever, don't think about that part of it. All we were trying to think was, how much money do we need so that we can live while we're there off of whatever money we put aside? So one of the things that Epic does, I don't know if you guys have you guys ever heard of the sabbatical program at Epic? If you work at Epic for 5 years, they'll give you a 4-week vacation to anywhere in the country. Well, actually anywhere on the planet. Yeah. So I worked there for 11 years, and so one of the trips that my wife and I took was to go down to Ecuador and see Machu Picchu, right? And the headwaters of the Amazon in Brazil. We sort of travel around in South Central, Southern America, which is great. We loved Cuenca in Ecuador. It was awesome. So we were thinking, my wife speaks pretty good Spanish, and so if she really wants to speak it fluently, you need to live there for a few weeks, right? And I figured I could just hang around and drink. But anyways, this was what we were trying to come up with.
In Spanish.
So if we need $8,700 each quarter for 2 years while we live in Ecuador, and we can get an account that pays us 6% compounded quarterly, how much do we need to put in there so that we can take out those payments? So what kind of a problem is this, first off, folks? 13.2. Why?
Because of present value. Because you got to find out what you need now.
What I need now to get payments, right? So this is the key here. One of the things that I try to tell column 13-2 is for someone getting paid. Okay? In this case, I'm just paying myself, which seems a little weird, but that's the idea behind it, right? Every 3 months, I will go into the bank and say, give me $8,700 in cash. Well, okay, maybe not, but... The other cool thing about Ecuador, folks, is that they don't have their own currency. They actually are based off the U.S. dollar. So if you go to Ecuador, everything is in U.S. dollars. Period. Right? There's no marks or yeah. You don't have to exchange any kind of money. You just walk down there with what you got and you keep spending it. Right? Relatively cool. Okay, so what page am I going to go to?
One and a half.
6% divided by 4. 1.5% page. What row am I going to?
8.
8 because 2 years, and I'm going to pay myself 4 times, so I'm going to need to get 8 payments of $8,700. We actually talked to one of the hotels we were staying at. They had an apartment right next door that they were trying to rent, and we were asking, well, if we rented for 2 years, how much would we have to pay? It took my wife a while to get the Spanish out, so the math would be understandable to them. But yeah, they gave us a number, and it was like so low. I was freaking out. It was like less money in a year than I would pay in a month here.
Wait, so did you do it or no?
Nah, no.
Little.
I know. I got this job, and I took a huge pay cut to pay this job.
Now
so.
you ain't going nowhere.
Yeah.
It's at home. Retired.
We've adjusted now. It's been 10 years. We know. All right, so what's our table value, folks?
1.1265.
1.5%, 8 periods.
What? 7.85.
You were looking at 12.1, dear. Oh, shit. My bad. I'm 13.2.
13-2. Make sure you. What do I multiply by?
8,700.
The 8,700 we think we need per quarter.
$65,127.33.
How many pennies?
33.
33. I'll buy it. So just a shade over $65,000 is kind of what we were thinking. Again, this is also back when interest rates were much higher. You could actually get an account that paid 6% quarterly, you know, compounded quarterly. Nowadays, no. You got to gamble on the stock market nowadays to get that kind of return. So that's how much we need to put in. Now, how much of my payments will wind up being interest? Again, there's always interest in these problems, folks, right? And that's all the free money. That's the whole point, right? So you know I love free money. So how much free money am I going to get in this deal here for 2 years? First off, what does this $65,127.33 represent?
That's how much money we put in.
This is what we're putting in. Awesome. What am I getting out?
Gotta figure that out.
9,000.
You're getting 8,700 every month.
How'd you get that, yeah? What did you do? 8,700 for each quarter for 2 years times 8. What did you say that was, Zach?
I already added up the profits.
69,600.
I'm not answering.
So the difference, of course, represents the interest, right? Because you're putting in this much, you're taking out this much. The difference is always interest. 69,600 minus 65,127.33.
$4,472.67.
44.72.67. So basically, half of one of our quarters is going to be free money, right? Unfortunately, since I'm an individual and this money would probably have to be in a U.S. bank, it would all be taxed, all of the interest. So, yeah, and that was, of course, why it eventually didn't happen. But it's still something in the back of our heads, both of us, that eventually, once we're sort of done working full time, that this is one of the things that we will do. Go live somewhere out of the country just to see what it's like, right? It's got to at least give it a while. I mean, at least go like live in Canada or something, right? Come on.
They get free health care up there.
See? There we go. That's move.
Like my mom and I
Of
wanted
course,
to go
convincing
up
my
there.
wife to move north is probably not going to
She
happen.
doesn't like the snow.
She's kind of had enough of the smell.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's awesome, it's wonderful, it's Christmas all the time. And she's like, enough said. Okay, not bad. All right. Okay, folks, this is a very classic type of question to find on the test. Variation on a theme, change up who it is that's going to be retiring, change the ages and the dollar amounts, but this basic type of a problem, how do I retire, is going to be something you should expect on the test, okay? So, this is an old plan, back when I was 47. I was assuming I was going to retire at age 62, and then I was going to need 75 grand every half year while I'm in my retirement until I'm 75. So one of the things that we've discovered as we've talked to financial advisors is that when you retire, folks, they tend to divide retirement up into 3 stages, right? The first stage of retirement is the go-go stage. This is where you're old enough to not have to work, but you're young enough to be able to go, right? So you go. The second stage of your retirement is the go slow stage. You've got to that age where you can still go, but there's a little bit of maintenance in the going, right? And so you go a little bit slower. And then the end of your retirement, the third stage, is what they call the no-go years.
You're in a hospital.
Yeah, you're just trying to make it to the bathroom in time every day, right? I mean, those are your no-go years. Or, make it to the end of the driveway to pick up the newspaper, the sorts of things where you wake up in the morning, the first half an hour spent making sure that every body part is still there, right? I have an aunt who lives in Nebraska, and that's kind of the story that she tells me, that she literally spends an hour every morning making sure that, the knees still bend, the elbows still bend, the neck still turns.
What's sad is it takes her an hour to do that.
Absolutely. But she's also
That should be
learned
her
that
first clue.
the faster you go, the more likely you are to have problems later on in the day, right? And so if you literally spend a long period of time making sure everything is good and ready, you will survive longer, right? I.e., she's fallen and broken a hip once, and she doesn't plan on doing that again.
So she kind of needs to know in advance when she's got to go to the bathroom so she can get there in time.
But to some degree, yes. All right, so retirement questions, folks. What do we need to do first? Okay, definitely the years are built into this, but what do we need to worry about first? And again, it's always backwards, right? You actually start with being retired, okay? Because you need to know how much money, okay? So step one is how much money, there's only one E in that, do I need at age 62? Okay? Because that's when I'm going to retire and start paying myself, essentially. All right? So, when you're doing step one, for how much money do I need at age 62 to get payments? What column am I going to use? 13.1. Because 13.1 is about getting paid?
No, that's 13.2.
13.2.
Sorry.
Okay.
Right there.
Because we need to know how much needs to be in that account, or how much do we need to put into that account so we can get our payments, right? How much do we need now? Again, this is sort of weird now because the now is the future now, but it's, trying to think about it, all right? Now, what page are we going to go to for this part of the problem? 5. Why 5? Yeah, because we're doing this semi-annually, right? And I've got this wishful thinking that I'm going to earn 10% compounded semi-annual interest. I'm investing extremely aggressively. One of the things that I've actually talked to a retirement guy about is that if you've got a pension that has guaranteed money, the money that you're using to have fun, you can gamble a little bit more with it, right? Because it's just fun money, right? If it happens to lose, that's okay. Right? Now, what row are we going to go to? Be careful with this one. Again, what is this? What am I doing here? What am I trying to do?
75
Yes. Why is it 75 minus 62? What am I trying to figure out? I'm trying to figure out how much money I need to get payments. What years am I going to pay myself? When am I going to get payments?
Between the ages of 62 and 75.
That's the retirement years between 62 and 75. All right? So this is 75 minus 62 is 13 years. Don't forget, what am I going to do with that 13 years? Don't forget to double it because we're doing this semi-annually, right? Because I don't just need $75,000 a year, folks. I need $150,000 a year. I'm going to live high on the hog. All right, so column 13-2, 5% row 26. What's my table value? 3752. What do I got to multiply by?
75,000.
75,000 bucks. So, how much money do I need at age 62, folks?
$1,070,140.
Just a shade over $1 million. That's not too bad. Again, this is assuming I'm only going to pay myself until I'm 75, right? Note that my father died at 80, my grandfather, my father's father died at 80, my mother's father died at 81.
Okay, so this is what you're going to need for between the years of 62 and 75.
Yeah.
That's what we just figured out.
Yep, this is how much I need. And then I will be able to pay myself $75,000 every 6 months for 13 years.
So where are we coming up with the 75?
That was me making up a number.
Oh, just made up. Oh, okay.
That one is determined by you. How much money do you want in your retirement? You decide.
For them many years.
Yeah.
After retirement.
Yep.
So is this what you, oh, sorry.
So can you take the 75 that you're paying yourself and reinvest it?
Sure, if you want to. Do realize that once you start getting older, your reinvestment options are much, much slimmer. Right? The older you get, the more the banking system kind of tries to force you into more liquid assets. Because you're going to need the money at some stage. And they're going to say, oh, well, if it's hidden in the stock market, then you have to spend a certain amount of time selling stock and paying realtor fees or seller fees, blah, blah, blah. So generally, you will end up putting things into more liquid assets like annuities, probably stuff like CDs, certificates of deposit, that only give you a certain number of years of interest. Again, you can go backdoor to fix that, but the way you do it is by giving your kids your money and then saying, if you need it, give it back to me. You have to be willing to trust your kids to give you your money back. Okay, so, sorry, Daniel, what was your...
Would this be what you said the other day, like the magic number?
Yes.
Retirement?
Yes, this is your magic retirement number. Essentially, once I hit this value, I know that I have enough money, right? And so if I...
over, that's great.
Yeah, exactly, right? So if I was only 60 and already hit this number, in theory, then for the next 2 years, instead of having to put any more money in...
So you would just keep your, like, what is it, a retirement account, like the same thing for monthly years to save up that amount?
Yeah,
And then from then on,
it keeps earning interest, right? And that's the nice part about this stuff. And it doesn't have to be all in one bank, folks, right? I mean, I have my money spread all over the place, right? I've got 401k, I've got 403bs, I've got standard individual retirement accounts, I've got Roth IRA accounts, and they're all in different companies who are investing in different banks and different, stock market funds, right? So my money is spread all over the place, right? And a lot of it's actually in international funds, because if the U.S. tanks but the rest of the world doesn't, there's going to be a chunk of my money that's going to stay relatively safe, right? And this is what they talk about when they say diversification, right? Make sure that all your money isn't just in one place, because if that one place goes belly up, so do you, right? And so this is why I'm perfectly happy to leave it in lots of different places at this stage.
until you get Alzheimer's.
Well,
And
but
then you'll be like, oh.
And then you're going to forget where you
Yeah.
put it.
this is what power of attorney is all about. This is why at a certain stage,
I read an article about a lady who forgot because she got Alzheimer's. She forgot she got Alzheimer's, and she didn't tell her son she forgot. And she forgot like her house was paid off, and so she was like imagining people, and it was like a big mess overnight.
that's exactly why they apply power of attorney to certain individuals, so that they can't do that kind of thing. Granted, it has to happen. You have to notice. All right. So, anyways, this is our magic number, folks. Now, the second part of retirement is always figuring out how to get there. So, part 2 is how do I get to that number? So, in theory, I am 47.
62 minus 47, 15.
So I got some 15 years worth of investing, right? So at least my row I know. 62 minus 47 is 15 years. What am I going to how am I investing again, folks, though?
Every half year, so that's not good.
So I'm going to have to invest 30 times to get that number. Yikes. What page am I going to go to?
5% each day.
Nicely enough to page is the same, right? What column am I going to use for this?
3.
Yeah, because this is my sinking fund, right? Your retirement accounts are your own sinking funds, folks. You're sinking the money in so that at some stage you can actually quit working and wind up on a cruise ship with all the other people who belong on a cruise ship. It's funny, the last cruise that my mom went on was a bridge cruise. And not bridge as in go to see bridges, but bridge the card game. My mom has played bridge for years and years and years and years, and so she went on a cruise where the activity every evening was to play like bridge. 600 couples. It was great. She had an awesome time. But my mom, who was like 80, one at the time, went on this cruise. And her first comment when we talked to her was, "Wow, everybody on this boat's old." I'm like, "Mom, aren't you?" She's like, "No, I'm the young one. They keep hitting on me." I'm like, "What?" "Yeah, these guys with oxygen tanks keep walking up and going, 'Where's your husband?'" She's like, "My husband's dead." And she's like, "Oh, what are you doing for dinner?"
Oh my God.
And my mom wants nothing to do with any man, let me tell you. Zero. She doesn't really even like talking to me on the phone, okay? So, of course, I'm also me, but we'll leave that one alone. All right, anyway, so how much do I need to invest, folks? What do? What's my table value?
0.0151
0.0151
times your magic number.
times my magic number times my million plus. So approximately how much do I need to invest every 6 months?
$16,279.99.
99. That's
Right there.
91. All right. That's a little on the rough side, right? If you think about it. I mean, how much is that per month?
Yeah, I figured mine out the other day. It was horrible.
Sorry.
I would have been happy not to have that information.
Right. Remember, this is every 6 months. So if you divide that by 6, that's about how much I need to invest. So like 2,400 or something like that. Again, this assumes, of course, that you have not invested a dime until you're 47, right? Hopefully, when you guys reach 47, you will have been wiser than me, in theory, and have been putting money in there, so you don't have to get it all in those last 15 years of your working life. So, what can I ask now, folks?
How much is
Just
that?
use interest.
Why do you have to take that face?
Because this is the fun part, right? This is the free money, right, folks? How much free money do I wind up making in these years of my life, right? I want to know. So that I can walk around with people and sing and dance about how much money I'm going to get for free just because I was willing to give it to a bank or some hedge fund or whatever the hell I'm doing with this money to get 10% compounded semi-annual interest. Sometimes you don't want to know. I'm investing in oil wells and that's it, apparently. So how are we going to figure this out, folks? 75,000 times what?
26.
Why 26?
Because that's for like the whole.
Because what am I going to get in my retirement? How much am I going to pay myself? $75,000 every 6 months from 62 to 75, right? So that's 13 years, twice a year, right? So how much am I going to pay myself?
1,950.
1 million.
I had it written down, right?
$50,000.
No wonder you're depressed.
I think I did.
So I'm going to pay myself just a shade under $2 million, right? That's how much I'm going to get coming out. How much do I put in?
Your magic.
No, that's just the number I need to have at age 70 or at age 62.
Wouldn't you take the 27, 13, 32 times 26?
What? 27 what?
No, that's not what I'm thinking. Sorry. I don't know what that number is.
16,279.91. What's this number represent? How much I'm putting in, right? How many times am I going to put that number in?
30 times.
30 times, right? 15 years from 47 to 62. How much money did I throw in there?
488,397.30
So just a shade under $500,000. So how much of that $1.95 million is free? Oh yeah.
But they're commercial, free. Yeah.
This is how you really get free money, folks, right? You do not get free money by filing your taxes. That's utterly ridiculous. You get back some of the money that you actually put in there, but that's about it, right? This is true free money. Interest compounded over 30, 40 some odd years, and as much as you can put in there as you can so that you can collect it as tax-free as possible. Note that most of this will probably be taxed, right? This $16,279, that's way over the maximum amount you can put into like a 401k or an IRA tax-free, so, but definitely some of this money would be taxed, right? I'm ready. Can I be 62 now? And feel like I'm 50 something? Alright, so anyways, folks, I can guarantee you there will be a problem like this on the test, okay? There is going to be a retirement question. You're going to have to figure out what your magic number is and how to get to it, okay? So please make sure that you spend some time understanding how this problem works. Okay. 20.
20 points for that one question?
Yes.
And we're supposed to have a plan, right?
No. That's the most important question of this class, okay? The only thing I really want you guys to get out of this class is how do I retire, right? I mean, that's the one thing that I want you guys to be able to do. So I'm going to make that thing worth a buttload of points so that you make sure you spend enough time to know that you can do it.
How
Okay?
many questions is it? The test?
Test is like 8, maybe 9. Most of them have multiple parts.
Right. Here's your friends.
It's the same as always, folks. 2 pages, front and back. You know, that's how I do it, right? So,
We can have a card.
note card, yes. And you can use a bigger one if you so desire.
And when is this? Wednesday?
Yeah.
I was just thinking that.
How much
I was
bigger?
just thinking
Instead of 3 by 5, you can be 4 by 6 inches.
like Pinterest DIY note card.
Regular 4-inch by 6-inch note card, both sides as you see fit. All right. So how about this one? I invested $3,000 each quarter for 9 years into an account that pays 8% compound quarterly. I had to take out $3,525 at the end of the 5th year because I needed money, and the only place I could get it was out of my retirement account, right? So you know that that money's sitting in there. It's your money, okay? You can go get it anytime you want. The problem, of course, is that what happens when you hit it? Penalties, yeah. Basically what I needed was $3,000. This is how much I had to take out of the account in order to get $3,000 in cash, right? So I'm buying myself a new furnace. I was $3,000 short. The guy basically looked at me and said, cash or nothing, dude. So, where are you going to go get the money, right? You can take out a loan and pay interest on it, or you can hit your retirement account and take the penalty there. 6 of one, half dozen the other to some degree.
So would it be a two-parter then? You would have to do it for the first 5 years or first 4 years?
Yeah, this one's a tricky one. It's definitely two-parter, all right? The hard part is, how do we do the two-parter, okay? So one way to try and do this problem is to say, well, let's just walk forward for 5 years, right?
Yeah.
And then what do we do at the end of the 5th year?
Zero.
Subtract that money out, right? The problem, though, is that how do we go forward from there, all right? So when we're walking forward, folks, when you're using the columns, it always assumes that when you're walking forward, you're starting at 0. If we stop after 5 years and start up again, are we going to start at 0? Okay, so there are some limitations to working with these numbers a little bit, okay? And these tables can be tricky. Please note that I asked this on a test once and only once. The average score on that particular question was like 4 points, and so I will never ask it again. It's a great question, but it's way beyond what I expect you to do in a testing situation. Okay? So, how else might we approach this problem, folks? So we can walk the 5 years ahead, stop, and then we just have to create two separate paths. One path for the money that's in there right now, plus a new path for all the new money that we start with. And there's nothing wrong with doing it, except that that creates two paths. Okay? And what I would like us to do is not to have to do that. All right? So, here is an alternative for thinking about this. All right? When I take this $3,525 out, I have to subtract it. What else am I losing because I took this money out? The interest that it would earn. So every year after the 5th year, I've lost $3,525 and all of the interest that money would have earned, right? Future past participle. We almost never get to use that tense in reality. This is the one time where it works. If I had an English teacher in here, she would squeal. Okay? This doesn't happen very often, right? It really only happens in math, which is why it's awesome. So anyways, what I want you guys to do is to think, how can I figure out how much interest do I lose on this money from the 5th year until the 9th year? How much money is quote-unquote gone in the 9th year because we took out $3,525 in the 5th year. So certainly we're missing the $3,525, right? But how do we figure out the interest on that money? What kind of interest is it earning, folks?
8% compounded quarterly.
8% compounded quarterly. Now, is that money getting missed every quarter? Am I pulling out that money every quarter?
No.
No, I'm just pulling it out once. What do we use when we're only working with the amount of money once instead of every period? 12-1 instead of 13-1. So that's where this problem works with us, okay? Use column 12-1 to get $3,525 and all its interest. And this is why this is a good problem, or why I wanted it to be a good problem on the test that I put this on 7 years ago. Because it was a problem where you're going to have to use a Chapter 13 concept and a Chapter 12 concept. If I can get both of those chapter problems in the same problem, oh, you know I'm going to love it. Right? Again, this one's maybe a little over the top, but it's still a great problem. And it's real, because this is actually exactly what happened to one of my coworkers. She had to do this, literally herself. Okay? So we're going to use column 12-1. What page are we going to go to?
2%.
2%. Why?
8 divided by 4.
What row are we going to go to?
16.
Why 16?
4 years times 4 years.
So from the 5th year to the 9th year is 4 years. Again, now we're back to table 12-1. We're into our regular earning simple compound interest. What's our table value?
1.3728.
1.3728. What do I do with that number?
Times the 3,525. 4,839.12 is your number.
What was that? 4,839.12
39.12.
pennies?
Yep.
Awesome. Now, this is how much money we've lost. So what are we going to do with that number? problem and figure out what we're going to do with that number.
Don't you have to figure out how much it's be worth for
Exactly. So figure out how much is going to be in there if you had not taken any of the money out over the total 9 years. Okay? Find total in account without removal. So what column do we use to figure that out? Basically, this is a walking forward problem, right? We're investing $3,000 every quarter. Now, it's 13-1. Is this an annuity due or an ordinary annuity? Why is it ordinary?
Because it doesn't say.
Because it's nowhere does it say beginning. Yay, right? Okay. So, what page are we going to go to?
2%?
Yeah, usually once you set up a page, folks, you won't change page, and that's the nice thing about most of these problems that have 2 parts. You'll generally stay on the same page. What row are we going to go to? How long are we going to invest? 9 years, so there will be 36 periods. What's 13-1, 2% row 36?
51.9942.
Multiply by
3,000.
$3,000. How much would have been in the account?
155,982.66.
That's how much would have been in there if we hadn't touched it. So what do we do to figure out how much is really in there?
Subtract the 48, 39, 12.
Subtract the 48, 39, 12. And the only thing that's mildly disappointing about this problem, and the way we have done this problem, folks, is that to move forward another year, if I went to the 10th year, what would I have to do to figure out how much is in this account?
Redeposit another 3,000.
Yeah. But I would also, if I went a whole other year, I would invest $3,000 4 times.
Right.
So technically, what would I have to do to go to the 10th year?
Add 4 more periods.
Add 4 more periods here, and add 4 more periods here, right? Because every year you'll keep losing more interest, right? So while you're inside of the regular investment, it's assuming that all the money's in there, right? That 35.25 is still in there here, and it's earning interest on you. It keeps compounding and compounding. So technically, to move forward a year in this particular problem, you would always have to move forward what you subtract and what your total is, and take the difference of it. Which is mildly annoying, because you'd always constantly have to be sort of kind of going 2 steps forward, 1 step back. 2 steps forward, 1 step back, right? Because you always have to keep subtracting the additional interest that you lose every year, or every period for that matter. All right? Again, folks, great problem, a little bit outside the scope of a testable problem. So don't worry about it. But at the same time, awesome problem. Okay. I like this one. It's actually a story that my next door neighbor lawyer friend told me. So yeah, my neighbor actually deals with corporate law, And personal injury is one of his negotiable pieces. And so he's dealt with this kind of crap all over the place, right? Workplace injuries, they just set up an account that's going to pay them, right? So if they don't have a workman's comp insurance account, then this is how they have to deal with any of those sort of situations, right? It's all cash. It's all done through structured annuities, right? So how much money does the insurance company need to set up or to give me or just put into this account so that we can get $300 monthly payments for 2 years? Don't ask me how much my insurance payments go up after this lawsuit.
Wait, is this for real?
Apparently it was for real for 2 of my neighbor's clients. It was interesting that one of the guy who tripped and got this settlement was actually a client of my neighbor, and the company that he was suing was also a client of my neighbor, and so they were like, "Oh, just work it out amongst yourself." So yeah, it was sort of interesting.
Maybe the guy at Trip should have just watched where he was walking.
Not his problem, right? Fortunately, it's the company's job to make sure that there are no such places where, even though you're not watching, you won't trip.
He's like running it. Gas station by the thing. Or 25%.
Probably, yeah. I assume he got a decent amount of money from this. Not a very big settlement if you think about it, though, right? $300 a month for 2 years. I mean, in the scheme of the litigation process in this country, that's nothing. Jump change. So, first off, what column am I going to use to solve this problem? 13.2, yes. Because
Getting paid.
somebody's getting paid. Somebody's getting $300 a month. That's what we want to be able to do. All right? How much money do I need now to get payments, right? Present value. All right, what page am I going to go to? Why 0.5%?
Because it's 6% divided by 12.
Again, please make sure that you do 6 divided by 12 as a half, not 2. What row am I going to go to? How many years? 2 years. Each month in those 2 years, 24 periods. What's my table value? What? 5629. I'll buy it. And what do I multiply by?
300.
300 bucks. That's what I'm getting per month. Is that right? Of course, when I heard this story from my neighbor, I was throwing a wine party at the time. So his comment was, "Yeah, I got the insurance company to write a check to one of the guys and send it to his, basically to his private residence to set up the insurance annuity that was going to pay him $300 a month." He never did see the annuity. I was like, "Wait, what? How can they? What happened to the money then?" He's like, "I don't know, but it wouldn't surprise me if it got split right down the middle." I was like, "Isn't that fraud?" He's like, "Oh yeah, absolutely. That's why I know nothing about it." I was like, "Oh, sweet. I didn't want to know that either." All right, so anyways, there's a classic structured annuity type problem. All right, so how about this one? I'm investing $3,000 at the beginning of each quarter into my 401k. I did this for 12 years. My 401k earned a magic 10% compounded quarterly. How much is in there after 12 years? All right, good. So what did you notice right away? Yeah, This one is an annuity due. much is in my 401k. And note that I'm investing at the beginning. So, first off, what page am I going to? Two and a half %, 10 divided by that compound quarterly. And now what row? 12 years times 4 is 48. And then what do? Do not forget, because of the annuity due,
Add a period.
add a period. We're going to use the 49th period. So when it's annuity due, tack an extra period on at the end. What's my table value on the 49th row? $94.1310. What do I do with that? We were putting $3,000 away per quarter. And then don't forget, folks, that technically the adding 1 added an extra investment, right? Did we invest 49 times? No, we only invested 48. So what do I do at the very end? Pull it back once to get us back to the 48th period instead of the 49th. Just a shade under $280,000 in this 401k. So there's how the annuity dues work. If you have an investing at the beginning thing, don't forget to add an extra row, and then don't forget to subtract off the extra payment because you really didn't add an extra row, right? I think I got one more on here. Oh yeah, classic. This is a little old now, but this is true like 6 years ago or so. So one of the things that McDonald's discovered is that people were stopping or were slowing down when it came to starting up McDonald's franchises. And what you have to do in order to buy a McDonald's franchise, folks, is that you need $100,000 in cash that you have to pay to McDonald's Corporation in order to just get the license that says, I can open a McDonald's, right? This is not even all the cost of starting it up. This is just what you have to pay McDonald's in order to get it going. Building costs, the hiring of costs, all that other crap is just on the side. You do need to have $100,000 to get a McDonald's franchise license. So what McDonald's did about 7 or 8 years ago was to say, okay, you guys don't have to just give us the $100,000 straight up in cash. We are willing to set up a payment plan, if you will. Okay? And so they'll say, all right, as long as you can pay us for 3 years every month and get to $100,000, we'll even give you 12% compounded monthly interest, because McDonald's at that stage was really trying to push. Right? They were like growth, 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 growth. And they wanted growth not just in the rest of the world, they actually wanted it growing back in America. That was sort of their push 5, 6, 7 years ago. This is also when they thought that people would go to McDonald's to buy healthy food. I think they maybe changed their plans since then. But, I don't know, maybe it's still going on. I used to own McDonald's stock and used to get their corporate, quarterly and yearly reports. They finally bought me out because I only had 1 share. So they sent me the money instead and said, I'm sorry, we're repossessing your share. I was kind of annoyed, to be honest. Apparently there's not more than, they did this to like about 4,000 or 5,000 people that had 1 share, but Apple does the same thing too. They do it every 5 years, but McDonald's took 15. I owned one share for 15 years, so that I would get their quarterly report every 3 months. It was awesome. I loved it, right? You can learn about all this stupid shit they're doing. It's fun. Yeah, exactly. The buybacks. I was like, and Apple, of course, I'd spent like $200 or $300 to buy the stock, and within 2 years they bought it back. If you don't keep investing in their stock, they're just like, nope, we're buying it back from you. See ya. They're a little bit more aggressive. Okay, so folks, what are we doing here?
We're trying to figure out how much we need to invest to get that amount.
So what are we using?
13.3.
There you go. This is essentially a McDonald's sinking fund. How appropriate. What page are we going to go to, folks?
1%.
What row are we going to go to?
36.
All right, you guys have got this down. Good job. What's my table value in 13-3?
0.0232.
What was that?
0232.
0.0232.
Yep.
Multiply by the 100 grand. How much are we going to have to give them every month, folks? $2,320 a month for 3 years, and at the end of those 3 years, folks, you have the right to open up a McDonald's franchise. I don't think that this program lasted more than about 2 years, though. Yeah. One, I don't think they got that many people to go for it. Two, they had too many stores closing. And they couldn't earn the 12% compounded monthly interest either, so they were losing a ton of money left and right. All right, so anyways, folks, there is some review over Chapter 13. How about questions on the Chapter 13 homework?
13-26.
Which one is 1326?
Mike is selling a piece of land to offer her on his
Okay.
Morgan offered a $40,000 down payment,
$40,000 down.
$35,000 a year for the next 5 years.
$35,000 per year for 5 years. Okay, that's offer one. What's offer two?
$25,000 down, $38,000 a year for the next 5 years.
$38,000.
And the money can be invested at 8% compounded annually, what is in her offer.
Which one's a better deal? Great question. So, which one gives you more money over the 5 years? Just straight up.
Second one.
How much are they going to give you in this deal? They give you 40 up front and then 35 per year for 5 years. How much is that total over 5 years? Just straight checks.
75.
No, they're going to give you $35,000 per year for 5 years. This is $215,000, right? If they give you $25,000 down and $38,000 per year for 5 years, how much money are they going to give you? So the money, folks, between the two is the same. So now all you have to do is think about the time value of money. When is it better to get money? Is it better to get it later or better to get it earlier?
Earlier,
This man is thinking about saving. Why is it earlier, Danielle?
that is you can invest the $40,000 right away.
Because you can invest the $40,000 right away, and what does it do immediately? Starts earning 8% compounded interest. Without even doing this problem, folks, you should tell me that this is the better deal. Because if you get the money sooner, you can invest it sooner and earn more interest. That's all there is to it. Okay? So, that's your initial analysis. Now, how do we prove it? Well, the way you prove it is you figure out what this money is all worth right now. Okay? So if they're going to give you $40,000 right now, how much is that $40,000 worth right now? Good. Now, how much is $35,000 per year for 5 years worth right now if you can earn 8% compounded annually? That, folks, is the true definition of present value. Okay? You're guaranteed $35,000 per year for the next 5 years. How much does the bank have to put into the account so that you can get those payments? That's the 13-2 present value definition. Okay? So on this particular problem, we're going to use column 13-2. And we're going to say, oh, what page? 8%. Since it's compounded annually, it's 8%. What row are we going to go to? 5 years, since it's annual, it's row 5. No problemo. So, what's column 13-2? So 13-2, row 5, 8%.
3.9927.
9927. Please note, folks, if you said that this was the right answer, you don't have to explain it. That's the answer. Okay. So if you said it was the first one and your numbers are totally different than mine, don't worry. You're going to get credit. Okay. The answer is the first investment. Period. The why, I'm not even going to look at. Because I just want to make sure that you guys get the points. Okay? But I would like to show you the why. Okay? Times 35,000. In other words, that investment is worth how much right now? Somebody crank that up for me.
$139,744.50.
So the annuity, the $35,000 payment each 5 years, is worth this much money right now. J.G. Wentworth at 2 a.m. in the morning would buy your annuity for this much. Okay? Don't forget that you also got $40,000 down. So that's the first offer. It's basically worth just a shade under $180,000 right now. That's how much it's worth. Okay? Now, how much is the other one offer? The nice thing about it is, what's going to be the table value we use for the other offer? The same thing, right? So all you really have to do is say, oh, okay, great. What's 3.9927 times 38,000? So note that that should make sense, right? Because this annuity is worth more than that one, right? But how much does this one give you down?
38.
Only gives you $25,000 up front, right? So how much is it worth right now? 176, 722, 60. Where's your winner chicken dinner?
I thought it was freaking.
Right.
I thought we were investing first.
Right. I thought it was all together.
No, you can do this the other way, folks, if you want, which is what I assume a lot of you did. The other way to go about doing this is to figure out how much money will you have in 5 years, right? That's the other way of going about doing it, is to say, how much is investing $35,000 at the end of every year going to be worth in 5 years? Tack on $40,000 plus 5 years of compound interest on the $40,000 as well, right? That's the one that's the piece that people tend to miss, is that this down payment money, if you get it up front, in theory, you're going to invest it into this 8,000 compounded annually interest account, right? And you're going to crank out a whole ton of interest on it. And that tends to be what makes up the difference between getting paid less per year by $3,000. Okay? That interest makes a huge difference over time.
Dude, I still feel like.
Regardless, folks, just make sure that on this question for the homework that you say this is the offer, that's the correct offer, and you will get the points. Okay? But technically, this is the reasoning why. Yeah, as long as you circle it, just make sure you circle the right one and you get the points. Okay?
I have a question on number 10.
What was number 10?
Well, it said, first you gotta figure out number 9, which I think I did.
Okay.
And then it said to check it, check the problem in 13.9, but use table 13.1.
Mm-hmm.
And I did that, but I didn't know why that was checking it, because the answer for 9 was like $1,410.
Mm-hmm.
But you're checking the 15.
So the idea is that in question 9, it asked you, how much do you need to invest every period to reach a goal, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so to check that, you basically say, well, if I invest this much money every period, how much will I have in the years to come?
Oh.
And it should take you back to where that problem started. Right? So, I forget, what was the...
Number 9 is, the required amount is $15,000.
So that's the future value you want?
Yeah. It's annually for 8 years at 8%.
8%, row, 8 years. So the first one, they wanted you to figure out how much do you need to invest every year to reach this, right? So this is column 13-3, right?
Yeah.
So what was our table value for that particular row? 0940. And when you multiply by 15,000, that's where you got the 1410 or something?
Yes.
Okay. So if you invest that much every year for 8 years at 8% interest, how much will you have? So now go to column 13-1. Same everything. What's the table value?
10.6366.
6366. Multiply that together, and do you get back to 15,000? How close?
14,997.61.
So we're a couple of bucks off. And again, that's because of the rounding of the numbers, right? These numbers are close to being correct, but not absolute.
Wait, for 13. Sorry, I think I just wrote a bunch of numbers wrong. Why are you multiplying for number 10?
So for number 10, you multiply the answer from number 9 by the table value from 13-1.
Okay, I get it.
Yeah, and the key is making sure that you actually use the answer that you got from number 9, not using the $15,000 again, because that's the number you're trying to get to, not where you're trying to start from, right? Unless you're trying to start where you end.
Can we try 24?
24? Sure.
You're earning an average of $46,500 and will retire in 10 years. If you put 20% of your gross average income in an ordinary annuity compounded at 7% annually, what would be the value of the annuity when you retire?
So we're earning $46,500. We've decided to invest 20% of our income each year into this annuity that's going to pay us 7%, compounded annually. Okay. So first off, how much money are we investing every year?
20%. So you take 46,500 times 0.2 off.
46,500 times 0.2. 9,300.
Yes. That's what I got.
Okay. So So this is what we're going to put in every year. Awesome. Now, we want to know how much is going to be in this annuity. What column do we use? And what kind of an annuity is it, folks? When is he investing this money? Doesn't say beginning, so what do you assume? You assume it's ordinary. Good. So what page are you going to use?
7%.
7% because it's annually. What row are you going to use? 10 because you're going to do this for 10 years. What's your table value? 8164.
Yes.
Times the 9,300. How much is he going to have? 128,492. 52 pennies on top.
That's what a lot of toys, right?
Of course. All right, on the homework, folks, every question is worth exactly the same amount. So if you are happy with the homework, please let me have them. Again, you are more than welcome to turn this in on Wednesday. That's fine. I'm okay with that. And also, please note that the test is on Wednesday. Please be ready.
Yeah, I gotta go home and
You get the 4x6-inch note card, and don't forget your math handbook. I will have extras here if you forget.